Hello and welcome back. This is real. I am here. Let me explain what's been going on. Before I get into the video properly, I just want to say a massive thank you to those of you who have stayed subscribed to my channel in my absence, and to those of you who have actually subscribed. Very weird that some of you have subscribed to a channel that's completely inactive, but thank you and welcome. And to those of you who have not unsubscribed, got love for you. I really appreciate it. But I know the real reason you are here. You've definitely seen the thumbnail, you've definitely seen the title, and that's why you've clicked. So I'm going to try and make this video as fast as I possibly can. I don't want to keep everybody here for too long. Bear with, got some explaining to do, so let's get into it. So, what happened? To those of you who have seen my last YouTube video, which turns out to be the last video that I posted in just over a year, you may remember there was a clip of me doing deadlifts, and during that deadlift I fell to my knees because I couldn't stand. I became very dizzy, I couldn't hear anything, and I panicked, and my body's natural reaction was to just fall to the ground. I mean, I didn't fall flat on my face, but I went onto my knees, and I did have to hold onto the bar for some support. So that is sort of the start of what's led to this massive gap. What you don't know is that actually was happening for at least a week. Not just with my own personal training myself, but while I was doing personal training sessions, I would be demonstrating a exercise to a client, or I would be packing up a weight after a client had used it, and the same thing would keep happening. I would get dizzy, feel very faint, and I'd have to take a moment to just calm myself down. To all of my clients who may be watching this who dealt with that at a time, like I said to you afterwards, coming back to work and stuff, I really appreciate it, because it wasn't fun. No one wants a PT who can't stand up straight and gets funny and all dizzy, so thank you for being so patient. So let me explain that in a bit more detail. What was happening really was, later on down the line, it would become more of a regular reoccurrence. It may not happen all the time. It wasn't happening during every set I was training myself or for every exercise that I showed a client, but it was becoming more and more frequent. And the video, which I was referring to earlier, was sort of like that final tipping point. After that session, I did push through it stupidly. I did go home, and I just wasn't right. I had a massive headache, I felt exhausted. I was just being me, a stubborn, sometimes stupid 23-year-old boy. At the time, 24 now, I'm a grown man, getting old, but I was just being stubborn. It wasn't until my girlfriend sort of said to me, like, "Are you okay? You don't seem like yourself." Well, I was just like, "No, look, I've been having this problem, and it's not going, it's just getting worse." So we both decided that I was just going to take the evening easy. I wasn't going to work the next day anyway, so she said, just relax, have some paracetamol, drink some water, you can lay in bed and watch telly if you want, just relax. And I did that. However, the pain persisted overnight. Like, I just remember waking up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet and my head was pounding. It wasn't pleasant. So the next day, I'd woken up, she'd asked me how I was feeling, and I said, not good. So she made the choice. I didn't, because I was still being stubborn. We made the sensible choice to call 999? No, 111. Called 111. We had a long conversation with them. I was waiting for a call back from a doctor. While we were in the process of being on the phone to them, my girlfriend was actually on the phone to my mum, I believe. My mum was like, "Oh, you just go to the hospital. Don't wait for 111, you'll be waiting forever. Just get yourself to the hospital." And me being me, I was like, no, I'm not going to the hospital. I hate it. If any of you have been to the L&D, it's like an absolute war zone in there. You've got your local crackhead absolutely off their face. You've got someone coughing up their guts either in front of you, next to you, or both. There's no escaping it. And you've always got that nutty person who is being monitored by the police, covered in blood, or they're just a danger to society, but they're sat in the corner rocking backwards and forwards like this. And when you're not feeling well, the last thing you want to do is be in that scenario. So I was just like, nah, not doing it, not going to the hospital, and that is that. I'll wait for 111, and that'll be it. That's it. I'm not doing anything else. I'm just not going to the hospital. I refuse. After that conversation had passed, in that space of time, my mum must have called my grandparents, and my granddad called me and he went, "Don't wait for 111, get yourself to the hospital." And I was just like, no, not doing it, not going, I refuse. And my nan was in the background there like, "You need to go to the hospital, we'll come and pick you up. If you don't go, we'll come take you to the hospital, you need to go now." Because at this point the pain was getting like increasingly worse, and I wasn't doing anything. I was just sat still. I wasn't exerting myself, wasn't lifting anything. I was just sat on the sofa watching telly. Like, that was that. So my nan and granddad were like, "Look, you need to go to the hospital." So I looked at my girlfriend and I was like, "Look, I'll go if you can take me. I'll go. If you take me, I'll go." She was like, "Fine, let's do it." Got to the hospital. 111 had actually sped up the process. I don't know if you guys have dealt with 111 before and they've told you to go to the hospital, but they can sort of speed up your checking in process almost. So when you go to the reception desk, you'd say, "I've been sent by 111, you give your name, and within half an hour, 40 minutes, sometimes an hour, you're seeing a doctor. So that is what happened. Got into the hospital. At this point, the pain was getting really worse. Bearing in mind, this was 2 days after my previous video, so hadn't been active, hadn't done anything, and I was still, the pain was getting so much worse. Like my head, I was getting fuzzy ears, fuzzy eyes. It was just not nice. So I've checked in and they've said, "Oh yeah, like they're aware you're coming," and I was just like, "Okay, great." Sat down, and it must have been within 40 minutes I got called by one of the, I don't know what they're called, it's a doctor, but it's one of them consultant things. So they've called me in and they were like, "Okay, this is that, we're going to do some tests on you." And I was like, decent, like, this is good. I had a brain scan, MRI I think it was, and some other things. That took a while, and then we were sat waiting for ages. The problem was now, which was really annoying me, because I'm now in hospital and my pain's getting worse. The doctors are asking, "How are you feeling?" Blah blah blah, and I'm like, not good. Like I'm in a lot of pain. And they were giving me codeine and all these sort of things. And eventually the codeine did numb the pain a little bit, I'm going to be honest. If you've ever taken codeine, it is super strong. Excuse me, I just burped. And it literally felt like I was floating on clouds. Like, the pain in my head was still there, but it's like I wasn't there. It was really weird. Anyway, the doctors they've come with me. They've called me aside, actually. I'm waiting in this little, not a little room, but it's like where you get your scans done. Outside there's a little waiting area. And this fairly large doctor and two little minions said, "We need to talk to you super quick." And then my heart just sank. I was just like, oh God, what are they going to tell me? Now, I don't know if anybody else is this way. It's probably not a good way to be, but me as a person, I always prepare myself for the worst possible situation. Like, always prepare myself for it. So I'm sat here telling myself, "You've got a bleed on the brain, you've got this, you're going to die, blah, 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 blah." So they've taken me down down the hallway, and there's like one of them beds with the curtains on. They've put me in there, they've shut the curtains, and they said, "How are you feeling?" And I said, I don't feel well. I've got a really bad headache, I just feel really faint. Like my eyes keep going fuzzy, my hearing keeps going fuzzy, I just don't feel good. And the doctor looked at me directly in my face and he said, "We're going to keep you overnight." And as soon as he said, "We're going to keep you overnight," my hearing just shut off. I was like in my head thinking, God, why? I don't want to be here. I definitely don't want to stay here overnight on some stinking ward. I don't know what I'm going to be faced with. I don't want this. I was just like, I went into autopilot. I was just going blank. And he could see I wasn't talking back to him. So he said, "Are you listening?" I was like, "Yeah." So "What did I just say?" I was like, "You're going to keep me overnight." And he was like, "What about after that?" I was like, "I don't know. Can you say it again?" he was like, we're treating this as a very serious problem. We believe it's something to do with your brain. And then I was like, what do you think it is? Like, is it a brain tumour or something? So I don't think it's a brain tumour. But what he said next is what struck fear into me. He was like, you've either got a bleed on the brain, or you've got meningitis, or you potentially have a tumour in your brain. And I just froze. I was like, oh shit. I'm just looking around like this, like, oh my god. Trying to stay as calm as possible. And like I wasn't phased. And I was like, right. He's like, yeah, so we're going to need you overnight. So we have to go tell your family. My girlfriend and my mum were outside. Because my mum had actually come up at this point. And they were like, they're going to need to go home and get you a bag. And I was like, okay. I said that how I just said it to you guys. But trust me when I tell you, in my head, alarm bells are going off. I was like, oh my god. This is horrible. I don't like this at all. A bit of time's passed and told my girlfriend, told my mum. At this point they don't know, from what I'm aware, they don't know what I've just been told, so they haven't got a clue what we're dealing with. And to be honest, neither did I don't think anyone did. So the doctor's taken me up to the ward. And the time had just gone by, the whole day had just flown by. I looked at my phone, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, oh god, I've been here for hours and hours and hours. But I wasn't with it at the time, I just wasn't present. So time was just flying by and I just weren't thinking straight. I just weren't keeping an eye on things. So I've gone to the ward and I've walked into this black ward. All I can hear is the machines beeping. All the curtains are shut. And I'm just like, oh my god. Where the hell am I? Obviously I knew where I was. I was in hospital. I'm on a ward. They're keeping an eye on me. But I was just like, this is not pleasant. Now, my only preference to staying overnight, and I did say this to the man, was I don't want to be in the middle of the ward. Like, I want to be in a little corner somewhere, tucked away. And he was like, that's fine. So they've taken me to my room. It's not even a room. They've opened the curtain and there's my living space. And it was actually quite nice. I was right next to the wall, right on a corner, so no one could see me. Even during the day, I had my curtain like half open so no one could see into the ward. And I was just like, right, let's do this. So I've laid on the bed and then my girlfriend's turned up with my bag. She was just like, you going to be okay? And I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. Obviously I'm doing the man thing, puffing my chest up. Oh, I'll be fine, this is easy, don't worry about me, I'll be fine, you go get some sleep. On the inside I was like, no, I'm not going to be fine. Like, I'm just not. So anyway, give her a kiss, give her a hug, and I've said, right, I'll see you tomorrow. The visiting hours are like 4 till 8 maybe, I can't really remember. So I was like, I'll see you tomorrow. I've got myself changed, I've got myself in bed, and I'm just laying there, my head oh, I'm not choking up, I promise. I just got really dry throat. So I've laid in bed, I've laid on my side, and all I can hear is machines beeping like mad. My head is pounding like a drum. Honestly, it was horrible. And I was like, let me just try and get some sleep. But let's see what I can do. I've laid on my side, I've got super comfy, I'm just laying there. And then the curtains open and I'm just like, oh, for God's sake. This nurse has come in. She was like, oh, I'm here to do some tests on you. And at this point, I'll explain myself here. I was extremely tired, extremely confused, in a lot of pain. I weren't in the mood to be poked and prodded, and I was just like, really? Can you not just please just let me sleep? She was like, nope, I've got to do these tests, I've got to do this test. She's turned this torch on, and she's shining it in my eyes, and the pain was ridiculous. So I was like, turn that torch off now. I can't turn it off. She was like, no, I've got to do the test. I was like, I'm telling you, turn that torch off. My head is like, turn it off. She was like, interesting. She's got this little notepad out. Very responsive to light. I'm just looking at her. Like, I hate you. Don't know her. I was just angry at the time. She was like, well, I've got to do your blood pressure. I was like, fine, do the blood pressure. She's done the blood pressure. And she was like, oh, can I just use your finger for a minute? I was like, what? She's like, can I have your hand? I was like, yeah. She's got hold of my finger and she's pricked me with something. Took my blood levels, the diabetes thing. And she's like, right, you can go to bed now. And just walked off. I was like, cheers, love. I've gone back to sleep. Well, trying to sleep. And she's come back in again. And she was like, are you who I think you are? And I was like, I don't know, who do you think I am? She was like, I'm not going to say my cousin's name, but she was like, are you so-and-so's older cousin? And I was like, yeah. Do I know you? She was like, oh, your cousin's one of my daughter's good friends. I was like, oh, that's nice. She was like, really nice to meet you. I was just like, yeah, you too, after she just pricked me in the finger, pissed me off by shining a torch in my eye, and now she's saying how lovely it is to meet me. And at this point, I will admit, I did feel kind of bad for being horrible to her. So I was just like, look, I'm sorry about that. She was like, oh no, it's fine, don't worry. If you need anything, let me know. I'll come and help. I was like, sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Anyway, the night's done. I've woken up in the morning, got myself some breakfast. Now, there was a rule in this hospital. You get one breakfast. Of course, you have to choose your options. And that's it. You choose your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner. And to be fair, the food, I will say L&D food was pretty good. It's actually really good. So I woke up in the morning and this African woman has come round. She's doing the food. I can't remember what I'd ordered the night before, so I was like, what am I going to get? All I'd ordered was 2 bits of toast and some Nutella and a coffee. She's come round. She's seen me. She's given me my food. She went, is that all you wanted? I was like, yeah, that'll do. And she looked at me and she went, no. She said, you're a young boy. You're a growing man. You need feeding. And I was just like, okay. Didn't know what to say. She started handing me porridge and stuff and some fruit. I was like, thank you very much. Now, this woman was an absolute blessing, by the way. Breakfast, lunch and dinner, she would always, always, always come back around to me and sneak me extra food just so I could eat. She was amazing. I forgot her name, and I'm really sorry if you're watching this. You're probably not, but you were amazing. So, anyway, had the breakfast, I've had my lunch. Throughout the day, the pain was just getting worse and worse and worse. It wasn't getting better. So the nurses are coming around, giving me all this pain relief. It weren't shifting anything. It was just, day by day, it was getting worse. And I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't sleep at night. The pain was getting bad. They were giving me so much codeine that it just stopped working, basically. So they decided to do some tests on me. It was another brain scan, CT scan, I think it was. Yeah, CT scan. I had 2 of those. And some blood pressure tests, blood work done, all this sort of stuff. And it was just constant. But they kept shining this torch in my eye every time they'd done a test. And every time they shone the torch in my face, the pain would get worse, but it would consist and last longer. So the pain would take longer and longer to go every single time. Which they took as a concern. But what I found concerning was they kept telling me, okay, well, you've either got a bleed on the brain, you've got meningitis, or you've got a brain tumour. Those were the 3 things that they kept telling me. Now, when you're constantly being told these sort of things, it is scary. And you get inside your own head, you self-diagnose, you give yourself a timestamp of when you're going to expire. Like I was thinking, I'm not making it out of this hospital alive. Like it was bad. That's the only thing I didn't like. And at the same time, they were telling my family the same thing. So everyone's concerned, everyone's confused, everyone's panicking, understandably. And that just carried on for about 2 or 3 days, with the odd CT scan, regular checkups. They tested my flexibility, like smack your elbow, smack your wrists, your ankles and all that sort of stuff. They kept doing these boring tests. And nothing, no answers at all. And it was getting really, really, really annoying. I kept asking the doctors, like, look, do we know anything yet? Blah, blah, blah. Nope, we're waiting for your test results to come back. My family are equally as concerned. They've not heard anything. They're just getting told the same thing. But one thing that I liked about the whole situation, about being in hospital, was the care that I was getting. Not just from the staff, because the staff were absolutely amazing to me. Like, I couldn't have asked for anything more. But my family, and I'm sure I'm not the only person who would ever experience this, are very supportive. When someone's poorly, we all get together. So I'm laying in my hospital bed. My nan's FaceTimed me one day, and she was like, did you pack enough clothes? I was like, I've got a good amount, I suppose. She was like, right, put a list together of 2 things. Clothes, t-shirts, hoodies, shorts, whatever, and food and snacks. I was like, are you sure? She's like, do it. Put a list together. Me and Grandad will get it, or your mum and Fee will get it. Someone will get it and they'll bring it up to you. So here I am, laying in hospital, a lot of pain, really confused as to what's going on. And I've been given the task of doing some online shopping from the hospital bed. So I've selected out some clothes. My girlfriend's gone and got those. I've sent a list of snacks over. That evening, when the visitors came in, this was like day 2 maybe, or day 3, I can't remember. It was like, I've never seen anything like it before in my life. They've come in, got a big H&M bag of all the stuff that I wanted, and a gigantic bag full of food. So they've got the food out, they're putting it on the side, and it looks like a Tesco superstore in my ward, on my bed. It literally looked like I'd robbed Tesco and I was selling the items for money. It was absolutely ridiculous. So when they turned up, I needed to have a shower, because at that point I hadn't showered in like 2 days, which sounds filthy. I do know it's not good, but I was in so much pain I just couldn't. So my girlfriend stood outside while I'm showering, took me back to the bed, got my fresh clothes on, I'm happy, I've got my snacks. But people were just really looking at me, like, because it's one of the first times I'd come out of my little unit area, and they're just like, everyone's staring at me like I'd just done something horrible. Like, I can't describe to you. Imagine you've seen an arch nemesis walking down the street who you've not seen for months. The look you give him or her is the look I was getting from these people. They were just like this, looking at me. And then everyone saw the food. So in my head, I thought, I'm going to start sharing this stuff out. So being friendly, being sociable, there was people in there really, really, really sick. One guy just had his 3 of his fingers amputated. He had gangrene. Seemed like a nice bloke, just missing 3 fingers. Just was can't lie, he was a weirdo. But I could imagine if you've just had 3 fingers amputated, you're not going to be like a normal bloke, are you? You're going to be pretty weird. So I made friends with him. I've given him some snacks. I'm giving everyone snacks. So when my family left, I had people to talk to, because it was quite lonely. And that just carried on. Sharing snacks. I kept getting snacks being brought in because my supplies were going rapidly. I was consuming them and everyone else was consuming them. So that was quite nice. Having people come in, see me, bring me gifts. Not that I want gifts, but the clothes and the food was lovely. But then everything just went downhill from that day onwards, really. So that night, I was actually asleep. I managed to get some sleep. And I got woken up by, like, excruciating pain. Like, I don't think I've been in that much pain in my whole life. I don't think I have. So I pressed my little button and the nurses came. She was like, are you okay? And I was like, I need some pain relief, like, now. I'm in so much pain. She's like, she said something, you're not due some for X amount of time. And I went, I don't care. I need pain relief now. I am in so much pain. I need pain relief, please. So she's given me some pain relief to try and numb it down. But that night didn't work. Nothing was working. I didn't sleep a wink. I was up in the morning. I just didn't sleep all night. And the pain and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. So then they decided to send one of them big bosses, I can't remember what they're called, to my bed. And he said to me, all your results, they're not back yet, but we do need to do a specific test on you. How would you feel about it? And I was like, well, first of all, don't know what you're talking about, so can you explain it to me? And he was like, we're going to do a lumbar puncture on you. And I was like, what's that? He was like, well, the needle is this long, it goes directly into your spine, and we withdraw fluid from your spine. And I just looked at him and I was like, what? He's like, yeah, but we need to do that. I was like, okay, how is the procedure done? When can it be done? All these sort of things. He was like, we're going to do it today. And I was like, what? He's like, we're doing this today. I was like, well, can you wait till 4 o'clock at least when my family members come? Because I need someone in that room with me. I won't be able to do it otherwise. He's like, yeah, that's fine. We'll do it at 4 o'clock, but you're only allowed one person in the room with you. I was like, okay, fine. Then we started speaking more about the procedure, and he said, you've got 2 options. Option 1, you do it awake on your bed. We flip you onto your side. You go into the fetal position, so you bring your knees up to your chest, and you just hold that position. We inject anaesthetic into your spine until you can't feel anything, and then we do the procedure. I was like, well, that's not happening, so what's option 2? Option 2 is we put you to sleep completely and then do the procedure. I was like, I want that option. He's like, well, maybe you should reconsider. I was like, no, maybe I shouldn't. That's the option I choose. He's like, no, I think you should reconsider. And I was like, well, why? He's like, because there's a slight chance you might die. I was just like, yeah, I think I'll do the first option if that's alright. He went, yeah, that's a good choice. So what do you do then? He was like, we just inject a needle about that long into your spine. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Inject an anaesthetic in so you can't feel anything. I was like, cool. Let's do it. If that's the only choice we've got, let's do it. He was like, yes, it is the only option we have. So I was like, that's fine. Anyway, I've just been told that. First person I called is my nan, I think. No, actually, that's a lie. I called my girlfriend first. I've told her, and she was just like, oh, shit. She's like, have you told your nan? I was like, no. She's like, I'm with your mum, so your mum knows. Tell your nan. Told my nan, and she was almost like, look, it's unpleasant, yes, but it has to be done because we don't really understand what's going on, and this may help us. So I was like, fine, whatever. I'll do the bloody test. So I'm looking at my phone religiously now at this point because I'm keeping an eye on the time. I don't want, I don't want him to do this procedure before the time we agreed on. I don't want none of that. 3:30 he comes to me. 3:30, not 4, 3:30. And he says to me, the guy comes in and says, look, we're ready. I was like, that's good, but it's not 4 o'clock, so I'm not ready. He was like, Mr. Smart, we have to do this now. I was like, fine, let's do this then. In comes a junior doctor. Now, this is where it got interesting, because I was thinking that junior doctor was there to learn. As in, watch, not do the procedure. So he's talking to me, talking me through the procedure, the risks of it, the potential dangers and all this sort of stuff, like not being able to walk again and all that, paralysed from the waist down. And I was like, right, okay, cheers, let's skip this part because I want it done. And he was like, our junior doctor is going to be doing your test today. And I looked at him and I went, is she fuck? Those are my exact words. Sorry for cussing, family friendly over here, but I was like, is she fuck? She's not doing that. He was like, well, would you mind if she done the anaesthetic? I was like, yeah, I would. She's not doing it. You can do it. And he was like, but she has to learn. I was like, that's great, and I really appreciate you're here to learn, but you're not learning on me. So you can watch, you can take notes, you can even record it on your phone if you want. You are not doing it. After a back and forth for about 10 minutes, they realised I weren't doing it if she was doing it. Not because she was a woman, it's because she's a junior doctor. Not happening. So he was like, fine, I'll do the procedure. Anyway, got me in position. He's put a little, with a pen lid, like he's put it on my spine in the areas where he's going to inject, like he's felt through in between like the bumps of your spine. He's put these little marks in. And he's like, right, in goes the anaesthetic, are you ready? I was like, yep. It was the weirdest sensation I've ever imagined and experienced. It wasn't what I imagined at all. It was worse than what I imagined. So he's put this needle in ever so slowly, and he's numbing and numbing and numbing and numbing. And he's like, right, can you feel anything? I was like, yep, that didn't work. He's like, interesting. Out he comes. Goes in again, into another location. And he's numbing me and numbing me and numbing me with this anaesthetic. And eventually, it started to work. And he was like, I've just put enough anaesthetic in you to numb a rhino. So he was like, your body must be pretty sturdy. And I was like, listen, brother, I go to the gym, yeah? I'll snap that needle with my tooth. I need anaesthetic. I don't want to feel the pain. Like, keep on going. We got to a happy medium where I couldn't feel anything. In goes this, I fuck off needle, literally huge. To you women who have to get epidurals, hats off to you. Honestly, respect, because my God, it was extremely painful, as you can imagine. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but yeah, it was not pleasant. And there was a certain part of this procedure where he hit a part of my spine, and it sent me into, I started sweating, I was shouting at him, he had to take the needle out. It was absolutely vile. I hated it. It started to work. What I mean by eventually is he had to go in with this needle in 6 different locations just to get the fluid, because none was coming out, none at all. We finally got some fluid out. Now, after you've had a lumbar puncture, you have to lay flat on your back and you can't move. I think it was something like for like a day or whatever, I can't remember. So he's flipped me over. My mum and girlfriend have just come in after I've had it done. They were waiting outside. And I burst into tears. I was just in so much pain. The procedure was painful. I just was like, I've had enough. Burst into tears, so I had some comfort in. Just when I thought, you know what, we're done here. They can leave me alone. They keep coming back. They just keep coming back. They wouldn't leave me alone. They've come back and they've said, right, we need to take you for a CT scan. But this one's going to be with fluid. Part of the story I missed out earlier, I had a cannula in my arm permanently, so they could do whatever they needed to do. So the doctor was like, well, actually he can't walk because he just had a lumbar puncture. So like, okay, fine, we'll push him in his bed and we'll do the procedure like that. So here I am, just finished crying, getting wheeled down the hospital. People are looking at me. I can't move any part of my body. I'm just looking at people in their eyes like this, like, yep, this is me. I'm getting pushed down in the corridor in the hospital. We've got outside the room and the nurse came out and she looked at me and she went, all right, up you get, mate, in you come. And I was like, well, no, just had a lumbar puncture 6 times. She went, oh. I was like, yeah, so I can't actually walk. What do we do? She was like, oh, we've got a tactic. We can get you in the bed by just keeping you flat. We're going to put like a surfboard type thing under your body. We're going to slide you onto that, slide you onto the bed, do the procedure, slide you off. Happy days. Now, what nobody accounted for was a 96 kilogram male, aka me. There was 3 tiny Filipino women. There was a fairly large bald man and this woman. And they got me in the room and they all looked at each other and were like, we stand no chance. So they called in 4 other people. So here I am with a team of like 10 people trying to lift me. They managed to get me on the thing. My cannula's in my arm and the lady said, do you know how this procedure works? I said, no. So please tell me. She was like, we're going to inject dye into your blood. So when we do the scan, it's going to tell us if there's any blockages or whatever in your brain. All this sort of stuff. I was like, okay, cool. She was like, but it will feel like you're going to wee yourself. And I was like, the problem is I actually might wee myself because I've been holding in the piss for about 40 minutes now. She's like, oh, well, if you do wee yourself, that's fine, but you won't. So anyway, here I am, laying there. I didn't know there was a microphone somewhere in there. So I'm laying there and I'm singing to myself, I need a piss, I need a piss. And all I could hear through the speakers is the nurses laughing. And I was like, oh, you can hear me? She was like, yeah, we all can. She was like, are you ready for this? I was like, I need to piss. She was like, 3, 2, 1. And this sensation of water just travelled through my body, straight to my bladder. And I was convinced I was pissing myself. I'm laying there and I'm like, I'm weeing myself. She's like, no, you're not. I said, no, I'm weeing myself. She's like, put your hand down there. Is it wet? I was like, no. She's like, good. Anyway, this scan went on. She got me out of this machine and I was like, I genuinely think I've pissed myself. She was like, you haven't? I was like, I really need to go to the toilet. She's like, can you hold it for another 5 minutes? I was like, no. I need to go to the toilet right now. So they've got me back onto this bed super quick. This man has sprinted me through the hospital back to my ward. And they brought me these big bottle things. Now my girlfriend, I love her to bits, but she had to do something I imagine she probably never wanted to do. Bearing in mind I just had that procedure done to my spine, so it was a bit sensitive. She had to hold me on, like flip me onto my side and hold me in place while I weed into a cup. No one asked, I know you didn't want to know that, but it's all part of the story, trust me. But it's not, but I had to tell you. So anyway, I've done that. And then it was just a waiting game really. Waited for our results. I think I was in hospital a total of, I believe, 5-6 days. But what we didn't know at the time was the procedure that had happened to me actually made everything so much worse. So at this point, the pain was completely off the charts, pain relief wasn't working, I couldn't move, I couldn't stand up, couldn't walk, I had nothing. I was just in pain. I was just laying there all the time in pain. That's when the nurses started saying, like, we might transfer you to another hospital, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, my family have now been told, okay, we're thinking about transferring him. And then they said, we're going to transfer him today. This was the day after, or 2 days after, I can't remember. So my mum's turned up, girlfriend's turned up, getting ready to get transferred up to Adam Brooks in Cambridge. Try that again. Adam Brooks in Cambridge. So we're getting ready for that. I'm laying in bed. Bed's been made. I'm laying there in pain, asleep. And they've come over and said, we're going to discharge you now. Mum was like, what? After all of this, after telling me all these things, they were like, look, your results come back. The only problem that you have is abnormally high brain pressure. To me, that gives alarm bells. I'm thinking, if I've got abnormally high brain pressure, why are you sending me home? I was in the most pain I'd ever been in, but they didn't care. They're like, you're going home. So after about 2 hours, my mum was going absolutely mental at them. To be fair, they were being really rude to my mum. I've been discharged. My mum's had to wheel me out of hospital, but the pain just wouldn't go. It was getting worse and worse and worse. Somehow managed to get me to the car, and about 5 minutes into the car journey, I went into a panic attack. I've never had one before, but I was in so much pain. The pain wasn't shifting. I was anxious. I was scared. I had a massive panic attack. And the only place that we could think to take me was to my nan and granddad's house. Since I was a kid, whenever I've been poorly, mentally, it's like a hospital there, like a recovery centre. You go there, you walk in, within 24 hours you're fixed. So I went to my grandparents, I got in bed, and immediately, done. No more panicking, no more crying, I just relaxed. The pain was still there at this point, but I was home. Like, I was relaxed. I had my family there, my girlfriend was there 24 hours. I had my family unit. That was quite nice. But as the days went on, the pain again was getting worse. The pain relief wasn't working. My skin started to break out, get really dry because of all the scans that I'd had, all the CT scans, MRIs. Yeah, it just wasn't good at all. And then I had back problems, ongoing problems. It just didn't get any better from there. Now this is the only negative to the hospital. They discharged me when I was at my worst. They sent me home in my worst condition. And that was that. My family are not medical professionals, and none of them are doctors, none of them work in hospitals. But they were left to look after somebody. Bearing in mind I'm a 24-year-old man. I'm a heavy 24-year-old man. I'm not easy to shift about. I'm not easy to try and help. You know, I was in a lot of pain. No one could do anything for me other than feed me and give me pain relief. That was literally it. I'd say maybe 4 days have gone by at Nan's. I have spent 4 days, 24 hours a day in bed. Couldn't get out of bed. Couldn't stand up, couldn't walk. I managed to start getting out of bed, being able to move around slowly by slowly, day by day. And my family sent me to a private specialist just to talk about the situation. They obviously had access to all of my results. And the conclusion from all of this palaver was I had a exercise-induced head pain tension, or something like that. Now that was not because of me training. That was nothing to do with the gym. The specialist had told me it's quite a rare thing. He said you could have picked up a bag of rice from Tesco, one of them small ones, and it could have triggered this. He said it was just something that was just waiting to happen, but it happened when it happened. It happened during the gym, it happened when you were lifting heavy. That's all it was. He said it should never come back. He said, but the consistent and persistent pain that progressively got worse and worse was due to the fact that the hospital had done that procedure on your spine. So here I am in pain for no reason, all because of them not really paying attention to what had happened. And that was the story. Long story short, exercise induced head pain tension could have happened at any time doing anything. But why that held me off YouTube for such a long period of time, if I'm being honest, is it affected my confidence a ridiculous amount. It did. I was very scared to go to the gym. I still haven't really fully got back into my training properly, and it's been a year. I wasn't enjoying training. I was scared to train, and I didn't want to pick up a camera. I didn't want to film anything. I didn't want to put content out there because I just didn't have the confidence to do so. And then I started, gain some more confidence. To those of you who follow me on Instagram, you would have seen I've posted some reels on there, and they've done amazing. We're talking thousands of views on a 30-second video. And that's inevitably what's led me back here. I'm ready now to do this. Medically, I'm fine. There's no head pain, there's no tension, there's no problems. I'm back, and I want to do this. So that's why at the start of this video, I thanked you all who haven't unsubscribed to my channel, to those of you who have stayed subscribed, and to even those of you who have subscribed to my channel. I don't understand where you found me, because I know the Instagram algorithm was... The YouTube algorithm wasn't pushing me out, because I wasn't posting content. But I am back now. I'm ready, I'm healthy, I'm motivated, and it's time to do this. So I apologise for the long story. It was a year ago, so it's probably a bit patchy in sections. But thank you for watching. Thank you for staying patient. And I'm back. You're going to be seeing me much more now. And hopefully we can build something special. But on that note, I hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, listen to your body always, and if you've got a problem, get it seen to. Don't leave it, because some problems are bad. I was quite fortunate, mine didn't turn out to be anything serious, but do not ignore problems. See you on the next one, guys.